One day in tech, Brenda, Jimenez, and Tiago were talking about science.
So, how did life really start?
I always heard about evolution. It was something about stronger being or weaker, adapting throughout the years, but I really don't know about it.
Well, I must differ with you. God created everything, and believe me, I just don't know about it.
Then suddenly,
Hello, I'm Benjamin, and today I'm going to talk about Charles Darwin and evolution.
So what is evolution? Evolution is the theory made by Charles Darwin in his book On the Origin of Species, which he wrote after visiting the Galapagos Islands, where he started wondering why were there so many species, all of them so perfectly adapted to their environment. After a series of studies, he came up with the notion that all species, from human to bananas, moving to insects and plants, were related and all share a common ancestor. But how did this common ancestor, which is very like a single-cell organism, transform in all the species that we know today? The answer to that is natural selection. That was obviously proposed in Charles Darwin's book, and it's actually the core of his theory. So what is natural selection, you may ask? Well, it is the act to preserve and accumulate minor advantageous genetic mutations. What does that mean? Well, suppose a member of a species developed a functional advantage. It grew wings and learned to fly. Its offspring will inherit that advantage and pass it on to their offspring. The inferior disadvantage, members of the same species will gradually die out, leaving only the superior, the advantage, members of the species. Natural selection is the preservation of a functional advantage that enables a species to compete better in the wild. And although that probably for a first living species, his advantage was just a membrane that allowed him to stay longer in the environment, that is the same concept that we have been talking about. So, natural selection is the naturalistic equivalent to domestic breeding. Over the centuries, human breeders have produced dramatic changes in domestic animal populations by selecting individuals to breed. Breeders eliminate undesirable traits gradually over time. Similarly, natural selection eliminates inferior species gradually over time. Now, I know what you're probably thinking right now. Benjamin, this all sounds like nonsense. Are you trying to say that a human came out of a monkey? Or, well, something like that? Well, of course not. The process of evolution is an extremely slow process, and it takes about millions of years in order for one species to be clearly differentiated from another one. But that does not mean that we do not have any evidence to prove that evolution is real. Quite the contrary, evolution is one of the most tested and actually proven right theories that we have ever had in the history of science. In order to prove that one species once belonged to another more ancient species, scientists combine data from fossils, anatomy and body, biochemistry, and geographic distribution in order to interpret relationships among species. Examples of that, said methods will be to comparing homunculus structure. What is that? Structural features with common evolutionary origin. An example of that will be forelimbs of humans, cats, and bats that, if you take a close look at them, are extremely similar. Another one, analogous structure, that being body parts that are similar in function but evolved from a different ancestor. An example of that again will be birds and insects, which both have wings. Then we fall on to vestigial structure, which is body structure that no longer serves a purpose. What would that be? Well, the wings of kiwis. They clearly are not made for flying, but there's a high chance that they were ants for said purpose. An embryo, which basically consists of comparing two embryos at their early stages of development between two or more species. How does that work? Well, embryos of fishes, birds, reptiles, and mammals have similar structures that suggest that they had all of them a common ancestor. And there you go. Evolution, just a little bit above 5 minutes in a nutshell. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, share it with your friends if you have friends, and yeah, have a good one.